Hello, Namaskar and Abab to all my friends from your friend astrologer and guide Irfan, once more with you from your very own channel Astro Assurance. In the time of duress and challenges, especially when there are health challenges all around us, and sometimes we are not able to help much. For example, today we are in lots of regions around the world, we are either in a very restricted movement place or we are in a lockdown, which means we are not able to move out much. And why is it? Because there is a fear that this virus which has a higher chance of infecting, and it is seen by many as something of which there is no vaccine or there is no cure. And if you are infected by this, there is a chance that you may infect others also, and those people who have a higher immune system and immune power may still be able to cope with the disease and maybe even recuperate. However, they may in turn give the disease or pass it on to somebody who probably has a lower immune system, lower immune power, and they may pay a larger price, sometimes even with their lives. So in the drop or in the backdrop of the COVID-19 disease, I thought let me make a video which is around our health, and it is something which can help us in the current times, but it can also help us even when this current challenge is not there, which we feel maybe in a few months or maybe in a year the vaccine may come out. So how do we see health from a horoscope with the help of astrology? Now, one thing that astrology tells us is that the 12 houses of the horoscope, each house represents an important aspect of our lives and also important aspect of health and part of the body also. For example, it is said that the lagna, the ascendant, represents the head, and because the brain is in the head, so it's a very important part of our body, because without the brain, without a thinking brain, we can't even call ourselves as somebody who has the consciousness or conscience, who is conscious. That means has the ability to understand what things are going around him or her and being able to take decisions and be able to think. And it is like being a vegetable, somebody who can't think. Secondly, because of head or the ascendant being something which represents the overall body, so the lagna or the ascendant is also representative of the general health of the person, apart from the head and the thinking power also. Of course, there are other attributes of the lagna also, where it also looks at how your standing in society is, how society sees you, your reputation, that is also seen through the lagna. But from a health aspect, very importantly, the head, the brain, the thinking ability, and the general health of the person is seen through the lagna also. Then the second house represents the right eye. It also represents language, speech, teeth. So any affliction to the second house can also be seen as somebody who may have a slur of speech or not a clear speech, or had language problems, or doesn't have a good vocabulary, or even somebody who is not able to control his language, sometimes is abusive, talks without thinking and uses words of which he may later on be apologetic about. And if there are multiple challenges, the person may stutter, stammer, or in rare cases may also not be able to speak, may also be dumb. So each house represents certain areas of our life. Some signs represents, or each sign represents some of the other attribute of our lives, and planets, depending on which house they rule in the horoscope, they rule that part of the body and that area of our health, and also they may be karaka of some areas of the life and some organs of the body. And so from a health perspective, if we analyze the horoscope properly, then we can see if we have some challenges, where the challenges are coming from, and to some extent we can preempt them, handle them, avoid them, and even cure them. And if we don't have the challenges, but we may also be able to see through proactively what are the tentative or probable challenges which we may face in the long run. And if we are able to take care of them, and if we are able to strengthen those parts, then we may face lesser challenges or maybe no challenges on those areas. So let's talk about, from a health perspective, what are the certain areas and what we should be careful about. So as we talked about the ascendant, it's also important to understand that certain planets are the karaka of certain areas of our body and also certain organs. For example, Jupiter represents speech. Mercury is the planet of communication. And if the second house lord is afflicted and Jupiter and Mercury both are under duress or under malefic intent or very weak or even combusted, then you can be absolutely sure that to a large extent the person will have a problem in his language and his speech. Some people may also have a problem with their teeth, or regularly their teeth may be giving them trouble. So if you have somebody who faces troubles with the teeth, aches, toothaches, cavities, gums giving you problems more than the others, then there is some affliction to either Mercury, Jupiter, or to a large extent Ketu also sharing energies, or even placed in the second house. Generally, when Ketu is placed in any house, it takes away most of the energy of the attributes of the house, and also if it is sitting with the planet, the area of the body that the planet represents. For example, Mars represents the head, and if Mars is afflicted, and if the Lagna Lord is also afflicted, plus if there is an aspect of a malefic planet on the Lagna or the ascendant, then you can be very, very sure that the person will have problems in thinking clearly, will have problems of comprehension, of understanding, and sometimes the person may not able to take right decisions. Especially if Mercury is also afflicted, then analytical thinking is absent, and the person may take such decisions which may spoil his or sully his reputation also, and some decisions may also impact his health, because Mars and the Lagna also represent the health aspect. So one has to see these permutations and combinations. One thing is for sure, no one planet give you serious challenges of the body, but a combination of factors will give you challenges. For example, as we have talked about, Mars and the Lagna Lord both getting afflicted and an aspect of a malefic on the ascendant will definitely give you problems of the head and of the general health. It may impact thinking, it may impact comprehension, and sometimes such a person may also face small challenges from accidents perspective. The person stumbles, falls, sprains his ankle, gets hit on the head, gets stitches on the face or on the head, and sometimes may get some bumps, sometimes get some vehicular accidents, falls on the bike, and the head generally is impacted because of this. And sometime later on in life, even when Mars matures, and even when the other malefic planets like Saturn and Rahu mature, then you may find that such a person with an afflicted Mars and afflicted Lagna Lord may face challenges of blood pressure. In rare cases, if Jupiter is also afflicted, then Alzheimer's such a person may face, because there are challenges all around. And sometimes you may face challenges where no doctor is able to diagnose it properly, especially if Rahu gets involved, then aspects the Lagna or sits in the Lagna, then the disease is there, a chronic ailment is there, but nobody is able to fathom what is the challenge. So if one finds that Mars is afflicted and the Lagna Lord is afflicted, and Rahu is involved with the energies with the ascendant, or getting into the Lagna through a transit, then during that phase one should be careful, eat healthy, do regularly mental exercises. Somebody who is lazy and doesn't use the mind well, the brain well, also have a higher chance of getting afflicted with Alzheimer's. So if you are keeping the brain active, working with it, solving puzzles, doing some analysis, then there is lower chance of people who to get Alzheimer's. Usually you will find lesser cases of Alzheimer's in people who are working, who are actively working and using their brain more. People who are retired and staying home and they don't have much activity to do with the brain, they have a higher chance of getting the Alzheimer's disease as well. And if Ketu is placed in the Lagna, for example, then the chances of such a person having overall less immunity, and also they have a weak constitution and regularly fall ill seems to be going up. especially if the Lagna Lord is also afflicted and Mars is also afflicted. Such a person will have ill health almost through the life and will have low immunity system. And if somewhere Sun is not placed very well, then the challenges will be more in nature. With the third house afflictions, you will probably see that use of hands will have a problem, especially if the third lord is also afflicted, plus if Mars is also afflicted, because Mars is the karak of the third house. So if in such a case is there, then one needs to be careful of working in an industry where hands are used more often, especially in a manufacturing industry or industry where you need to use hands and there is a danger to hands. So one has to be a little careful. If somebody is working in a bakery or in a place where there is fire, then one has to wear proper gloves, proper equipment. If one is working in the kitchen in restaurants, then you work with proper gloves, use your mitts and so on. So one has to be more careful. With afflictions of the fourth house, fourth lord also, and especially of the moon. Moon represents the heart and the fourth house, and the fourth lord is also afflicted. Then you will find problems of the chest, problems of the heart can also come about for such a person. Generally, if the fourth lord is afflicted, moon is also afflicted, and if sun is also afflicted, 9 times out of 10 such a person will have either problems with the heart, a weak constitution, weak heart, or even a large heart with the blood vessels being large. And so there are those different complications when you have a large heart, physically large heart in size. And or such a person may also have chest problems, congestion in the lungs, weak lungs. Generally such a person may also fall ill regularly, especially if 6th, 8th or 12th lord energy is also combined. If 5th house gets afflicted, then one usually finds that there are challenges of the visceral organs, not of the intestine, but the organs between the chest area and the intestines. With 6th house, for example, you can be sure that the intestines will have some or the other problems, and anything related to digestive system you may have problems such as the pancreas and the liver. If you have a weak 6th lord or an afflicted 6th lord, Saturn is also weak because Saturn is the karaka of the 6th house, then you will find that some or the other problem keeps coming for such a person. Either your digestive system is weak, or you have challenges in your kidneys, or challenges in your pancreas or your liver, even kidney stones or gallbladder stones can come about. If Saturn is afflicted and any of the limb areas are afflicted, for example the 3rd house is afflicted, or the 10th, 11th and 12th houses are afflicted, where the knees, the calf and the foot are involved, or if the chest area is afflicted, the 4th house is afflicted, then you will have challenges with the bone. There may be weak bones, breakages of bones, or small fractures from time to time, or you fall and you break your bones. That may also come about if those lords are also afflicted and Saturn is also afflicted. And this can be almost certain that such a person will face challenges if Ketu or Rahu get involved with other malefic energies. If Mars is aspecting any of this house to an inimical sign, then you may face challenges of the bone through some accidents. I know a friend who has a weak Mars, an afflicted Mars in fact, and an afflicted Saturn, and generally I have seen that this person is getting injured some or the other way through some accidents or through some falls. Some or the other injuries happen to him, and sometimes it so happens even when he is very, very careful. 2 or 3 accidents of his have happened when his car was stationary, standing at the signal, and somebody came from behind and rammed his car. And then sometimes he gets bruises, sometimes he has gnashes on his head, he has got stitches on his head and on his forehead, and he has had 3-4 plasters in hand or legs from time to time. So every 2-3 years some or the other problem keeps happening to him, and he gets small bumps on the head every now and then. Every 3-4 months some or the other part of his head keeps getting hit. even when he is very careful. So I have already told him that once he gets into his later years, he should be very careful of his blood pressure and manage his head, and should keep a very active life, especially thinking life. He should keep indulging in something, keep his brain active, and be a little more careful of walking around and moving around and driving, and wearing a helmet always, because the probability of him facing these challenges more later are higher. If the 7th and the 8th house are afflicted, along with afflictions to the 7th and 8th lord, plus if Ketu is involved or Saturn is involved or even Sun is involved, because Sun doesn't do very well in the 7th and 8th house. In the 7th house, which is represented by Libra, Sun is very weak. It is its debilitation sign of Libra. So generally you will find such a person may have problems with the sexual organs. Such people may not be able to perform well in matters of intimacy, or they may not get the urge to be intimate more often, and they may also have some sexual challenges of the sexual organs from time to time. Sometimes if Rahu is involved, the problem becomes chronic, and the affliction doesn't go away easily in spite of going to a doctor. Women, when the 7th and 8th are involved, may not be able to conceive, especially if the 5th house or 5th lord is also afflicted, and if Jupiter is also afflicted, because Jupiter is the Karaka of children, then the challenges to childbirth may also happen for women, especially if 7th and 8th house are afflicted. If 8th house is afflicted, the women will generally have to go a lot of times to the gynecologist, and will always have some of the other problems. And the uterine infections, as we call it, generally uterine infections happen to such women. Challenges to the 10th, 11th and 12th house are generally challenges of the back, even 8th house, the backbone and the spine, and your pubic area, your hips, then your knees, your calves, and then your feet. All these challenges may come out depending on which particular house is afflicted, and whether the lord of the house is afflicted, especially if Saturn is also afflicted, because Saturn represents the bones, and it is important. So one has to see the combination of such planets and then arrive at what can be done. I'll make another video on remedies that can happen, but just to give you, now that we are talking about, the best remedy is a behavioral remedy rather than just doing mantras or wearing gemstones or fasting. The best attribute is to strengthen a planet is to behave well in the matters of the planet. If Mars is weak, and then exercising and keeping a patient demeanor, being calm, not getting aggressive, not getting angry easily, treating people well, not being arrogant, calms your nerves, calms the body, keeps the heat quotient in your body down, calms the nerves, gets you higher water retention, and with higher water retention and calming your mind is able to work very well. If Saturn is afflicted, treating people below you very well, having an organized and disciplined life, not rushing into things, being always planned and organized, so that you don't rush into problems and rush into things, and then you get some accidents or you fall and something of that sort happens. And also donating the attributes of the particular planet, while strengthening it on a behavioral front, but weakening the negative aspects by donating related to that planet. With Saturn affliction, donating black items helps, donating to old age homes, donating to poor people helps, while treating these people very well, being very organized, being very disciplined in your life also helps to overcome the negative tendencies of Saturn, but to increase the positive tendencies of Saturn. With Sun and Moon afflicted, and if the 2nd and the 12th lord are either afflicted, then eyesight can be afflicted. Such people, you will find that from a very young age they may have some of the other disease of the eye, poor eyesight, or from a very young age they may be wearing spectacles, or they may need the help from the doctor, from the eye doctor, from an ophthalmologist, and need to go to him from time to time. And if there are more afflictions, Saturn, Ketu are also involved, both with Sun and Moon getting afflicted or getting eclipsed, then to a large extent eyesight will be very, very poor, and in very rare cases somebody may also be not able to see or may be blind from birth. though there are rare cases, may also happen. Such people, if you have good eyesight, will slowly find eyesight getting weaker and weaker. You need thicker and thicker glasses, and there may be a time when you may also face glaucoma or diseases of the eye, or you may have problem with one area, say for example diabetes, because of which the eyesight becomes poor. In rare cases, you have seen that because of diabetes and people not being able to handle the challenge well, somebody loses most of the eyesight, and some in rare cases even become blind. So one has to look at, for example, if Jupiter is weak, your 8th lord is also weak, and 6th house lord is also weak, then having problems with your constitution, where you are not able to burn up the sugar content and you face diabetes, the chances are very high when you to face such a challenge. So one has to be very, very careful how you handle especially Jupiter, because with afflicted Jupiter, 8th house and 8th lord, sugar disease or related to diabetes is very, very high. Chances are very, very high. With sun and moon both on the duress as well as the 4th house and 4th lord, then diseases of the heart, the lungs, and or damage to the chest or injury to the chest can also be very high. To the 8th house, as we talked about, kidneys and sexual organs related to 6th house can also be very high. So these planets need to be strengthened. Behavior in those areas should be very, very good, and one should exercise and keep a good regimen, keep calm, drink a lot of water, eat areas fruits and diet about those areas. For example, eating carrots if you have a weak eyesight, or you may have a weak eyesight, and taking care of your eyes, washing them properly, not going into dusty areas, keeping your blood pressure under check, keeping your diabetes and sugar under check are important ones. So friends, this is my analysis about from a health perspective how astrology may be able to help you and also preempt some challenges and overcome those challenges. So if you have a weak constitution in any of these areas, please strengthen those areas, especially during this time, because the reason that you may go to hospital may be one, but the affliction of the other part may go up because of low immune system, and you never want to face challenges in those areas where your constitution, your immunity and the planets are weak. So friends, please like this video, please share this video, please subscribe to my channel, and if you're looking at from a personal consultation from me, please reach out to me at the links given below. Until we meet for some other video, ciao.